Let's talk today about appraisals. What are these mysterious things? What are they used for? Why are they so important to a real estate transaction? I talk about appraisals in a lot of my video content, and there's a really important reason for that. Appraisals can make or break a transaction really quickly, and it's super valuable for you to understand how they work before you purchase or sell a property. In this episode, I'm breaking down exactly why appraisals are so important and what buyers and sellers need to know about them. So let's jump in. An appraisal by definition is a statement of value on the day an appraisal is made. Appraisals cannot be performed by anyone except for a licensed appraiser in the state of North Carolina. A real estate agent can give you an opinion of price, but they cannot give you a statement of value. This comes directly from a licensed appraiser, and their opinion really counts. It's important to repeat here that this statement of value is only good on the day that it's made. Appraisals are based on comparable sales data. That means if new sale data becomes available even the day after an appraisal is done, then that last appraisal is no longer accurate. Appraisals aren't just used for home purchases in North Carolina. They can also be used to justify value for land. In almost all situations when dealing with properties or land, the value is being based off of comparable sales data. Basically, the appraiser is using sales that have happened recently in order to establish a value. However, there are a few exceptions. They can also use a method called a cost basis approach to establishing value. This is most common, though, with investment purchases that have to deal with renting a property, short-term or long-term. There are some super neat lending options out there that are specific to this type of investment purchase. And in this situation, an appraiser is going to use that cost basis approach. Now that we understand more about what appraisals are and how they work, let's talk a little bit more about why they are so important. An appraiser's job is purely to define the value of a property for a client. Often in a standard home purchase situation, their report is being used to justify the value of a loan that's being given on behalf of a borrower. They have to be unbiased, so they need to use real data in order to back up the value they are proposing. However, the reports are also driven by several other factors. Things like the purchase contract, market trends, and competition. An appraiser isn't just assessing the simple data. They're trying to give an accurate perspective while also allowing for certain motivations that affect value within the market. When purchasing a home, for instance, the appraiser is most often hired by the mortgage lender who needs to justify the purchase price that was put on the contract. And the appraiser gets to look at that contract and see what terms were included. If the terms were really competitive and it went for way over asking price, then they can factor those motivations into establishing if the value is justified. Let's say their data also proves that homes are appreciating in the area over the past few months. They can then add an appreciation rate to the comps that they found in order to prove that purchase price that's in the contract. Another thing they might do is ask if the home that's being purchased was in a multiple offer situation. Demand increases the likelihood that an appraiser will give more value for a home. If demand can be shown to be high, then they can include that in their appraisal report and give more value as a result. So what if none of these factors are in existence? Then the appraisal is going to be purely based on the data they can retrieve from recent sales or from rentals. I say this all the time with my clients, and I've even said it in some of my videos. Appraisers are all subjective. They have a right to interpret the data the way that they see it. If the data is clear and all of it is very closely related to the subject property, then it should be relatively easy to predict what they're going to put on the appraisal. But if the data is really scattered and maybe old, then it's going to be super hard to peg what an appraiser will say in terms of value. Bottom line, it's very hard to predict exactly what an appraiser is going to put on their report. Many sellers, when thinking through where they would like to list a property, aren't thinking through the way that comparable data affects value around them. I've had conversations with sellers in the past where they gave me 2-year-old comparable data and said, "This will easily justify my sales price." But an appraiser only uses recent sales data in order to justify value, trying not to go over 6 months maximum if they can help it. They're trying to measure today's trends, not trends from several years ago. So to think like an appraiser, you have to assess the most recent data available in order to get the most accurate perspective on value. You may even decide to get an appraisal prior to listing your home, which gives you clear justification for your list price. If you are way off, at least you have the data to support where the market is currently trending, and you can make a choice about whether you should wait it out or if you want to just see if the market is willing to overpay. When you work with a real estate agent, it's super important that you make sure they are assessing all of the same data that an appraiser will be assessing prior to you listing or putting an offer on a house. Don't let an agent sweet talk you into listing for a certain price, saying they can sell it, or talking you into putting an offer at a certain price without showing you the data first. Either could come back and bite you hard. If you decide to sell for more than what is justified by an appraiser, then you might find yourself negotiating with the buyer on the other side of contract between the appraised value and the actual price that was put on the contract. If you're buying a home and your appraisal comes back in lower than what you offered, you may be fighting with the seller in order to get them to lower that price so you don't have to cover that entire gap yourself. This is often why going over asking price and getting into competitive offer situations can be risky for not just the buyer side, but the seller as well. All that to say, having an agent that will help you understand where an appraiser might land will help you assess the risks ahead of time and help you be very competitive in a hot market. Well, you might say, I'll just buy new construction so I don't have to worry about any appraisal issues. Not so fast. Read the fine print in any builder contract and you will see that they completely absolve themselves of any appraisal discrepancy. That's on you as the buyer. Builders are notorious for raising prices too quickly so that they can get higher profit. This is especially common with a pre-sale, which means you're purchasing the home before they've even started construction. Often builders will forecast an increase in value over the course of the construction period. But unfortunately, the market may not be in the same spot it was in 8 to 12 months when the home is finished. So don't go rolling into a builder's office to sign on a new home before you talk to a trusted real estate agent first. They could save you thousands of dollars that you may have to fork out if you run into an appraisal shortage. So that's what appraisals are and why they are so important to so many real estate transactions. I've got a bunch of other videos on my channel that will help you walk through the nitty-gritty of how to utilize this information. Go check out some of those videos if you still need some clarification on the buying or selling process in North Carolina. And please subscribe to my channel and turn on those notifications. You'll be the first to know of any new content I post, and it will help my channel reach more and more folks with this great information. Thanks for joining me, friends. Have a great week.